Christy, do you want to like announce it, at least before I get on so people kind of know?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, cool.
Definitely. And then everyone's going to greet the viewers and let them know where we're from. And we are officially, oops, hang on. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. We are officially live on YouTube. And I don't think we have any viewers yet because I haven't pushed the link out. Give me 1 second. Okay. All right, we are live on Facebook. And let me just push it to Twitter.
To get some patriotic, proud to be an American singing in the background.
Oh yeah, there we go. We need a singer here.
For sure. Hey everyone, how many people are currently on right now?
All right, we have 15 people online with us on this Zoom right now. This is a forum and we are live on YouTube as well. I can't see who's viewing right now, but I'll be getting the live comments on my phone. So everyone who's watching, we have about 25 people watching on Facebook right now, and that's going to start building up later on YouTube. But welcome, thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Christy McLaughlin. I'm a congressional candidate for District 19 of Florida, and I'm running as a Republican. I have been very, very vocal about being against these quarantine orders, mainly because it is no longer conducive with the need for our nation. A broken economy has so many comorbidities of poverty, of domestic violence, and depression, suicide, and we cannot continue on this path, particularly since the numbers of the virus simply don't add up to this exaggerated response. We have Tyler joining in. So I just wanted to start with a statistic, since the big concern is fear of death and the potential of death from this virus. Now, we have 865,585 United States cases and 48,816 deaths, according to the CDC, but I think as of today, it's been more north of 50,000. But that said, to compare it to Florida, that's where I'm from, Florida has 28,443 cases and a little bit north of 1,000 deaths. If the fear is death, then we have to compare it to other risks that have existed in our entire lives. So if we compare it to driving, as drivers, there are 403,626 accidents annually in Florida, and there are 3,135 deaths from those accidents. So if the fear is death from any kind of threat, then should we ban all driving? Of course not, because that infringes on our liberties. And that's why we're all meeting here today on this live to advocate for ending quarantine, to prevent the comorbidities of a broken economy. And so I'm so grateful to have all of these guests here with us today. And we are going to start with Deanna Lorraine. But before we do that, everyone turn on your microphone and let us know where you're from. Starting with Deanna, where are you from?
I am from communist California. Hey, everybody.
Alice Butler Short, where are you from?
I'm in house arrest in Fairfax County, Virginia.
Krisha Hughes, where are you from?
I am from Loganville, Georgia.
Mark Scaringi, where are you from?
I'm in lockdown in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Christopher Smith Myers.
I stood in my first bread line in Altoona, Pennsylvania today.
Danny DeVito.
I'm from Carnegie, Pennsylvania, which is 15 minutes outside of Pittsburgh.
What a great name.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Franz Michel, where are you from?
Port Charlotte, Florida.
Rock on, Florida. Manny Alejandro.
I'm from New York City.
And Keith Law.
I'm from Marco Island, Florida.
We have Eric Cochran
Beautiful Charleston, South Carolina.
and Josh Ellis.
Right outside of Chicago, Illinois, one of the great blue states.
Luke Negrin.
Coming at you from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Awesome. And then Tyler Isagera just joined us. He's putting on his headphones. So, and then we also have with us New Right Network, who is joining this rally as well.
Yay.
Where are you from? He can't hear us. All right, we'll move on. So we'll start off with Deanna Lorraine. Go ahead and kick it off with who you are, who you represent, and why you support ending quarantine.
Yeah, I'm Deanna Lorraine, and I just concluded my congressional run against Nancy Pelosi in San Francisco. And I lost my primary to a radical socialist. So San Franciscans, they wanted the status quo. And not only that, but they said, give me more of it. Let's have a radical socialist go up against Nancy Pelosi. That's what they wanted. And that's ironic because we're getting a taste of that right now. We're getting a taste of what life would be like with socialism. So I want to ask y'all, who here loves America? Woo! Raise your hand. Raise your virtual hand here. Who here loves freedom? The freedom that America brings.
Woo!
I do. So that's what I love. And I'm here to represent freedom. I'm here to represent the America that we know and love, not a socialist version of America or vision of America, but true freedom, the way that America was built by our founding fathers. And that's what I want to keep. We are starting to really get our liberties infringed upon, and it's really scary. This has been the most extreme measure ever taken in the history of the world. How many times have you ever seen an entire, not just a country, but the world go on house arrest, go on lockdown? This is really scary and it's really dangerous. These measures are unprecedented, all for a virus that they claim is a pandemic. But with the stats that she just said, some things just don't simply add up. I started the hashtag Film Your Hospital, and it wasn't to disrespect the healthcare workers who have been so great and so brave and on the front lines. It was only to question the media narrative, because we have seen so many lies, so much disinformation coming from them. All they do is fearmonger. All they do is push all this doom and gloom and this death count. But we've seen a lot of misinformation here. We have seen death certificates being changed from cause of death to coronavirus, the cause of death being something unrelated to coronavirus. All of a sudden it's changed to coronavirus. And we've seen a lot of this kind of misinformation going on. They're saying that all the hospitals are like war zones. And then it turns out that most of the hospitals are empty and so many healthcare workers are being furloughed or laid off. So what's really going on here? Because we have a right to know. When our rights are being infringed upon, we can't even get out of the house. We can't go to a restaurant, a church. We can't congregate with friends or family members. We have a right for sure to ask what's really going on and question the media narrative, because we know that we don't win from this. It's always good to question who benefits from these extreme measures taking place. Who benefits from a lockdown? Who benefits from us staying in our homes? Who benefits from mail-in voting? Who benefits from potentially mandatory vaccines and testing and monitoring and tracking? It's not us. It's not we the people. It's just not us. We have Mayor Garcetti of Los Angeles is saying openly that he's hunting people down using tracking and surveillance systems if they're found to not be quarantining and sheltering in place. He is pouring sand in skate parks so that people can't even go and get a break from their quarantine and skate in a skate park. We have beaches shut down. We have forests shut down. We can't even go out and get a breath of fresh air without being potentially hunted down. And now we have, supposedly drones and other technology that might be coming into place that's going to be monitoring and tracking whether we're actually 6 feet apart or not. That is scary. That should something that frightens everybody. I don't care if you're left or right. That is not acceptable. And that's where we should all draw the line. Because once this happens, once these kind of measures take place, it's going to be very difficult, if not impossible, to overturn them. And we know that Benjamin Franklin once said that those who would give us essential liberty, those that would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety, neither deserve liberty or safety. And we have to keep that in mind. We have to. We have to get back to work. We have to get America open again. This can't continue for the rest of the summer. It simply can't. We are Americans and we have the right to fight back towards something that's tyrannical, toward these tyrannical measures. And I say that we should. So with that,
Yeah.
let's reopen America. It's time to reopen America. Find me on Twitter, Deanna4Congress. That's the number 4, Deanna4Congress.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Deanna. And
Yeah, thank you.
like what you were hearing when you're hearing about that surveillance, to Deanna's point, our freedom does not end where your fear begins. So for that reason, we have a petition also available on my website. So you can visit Deanna for Congress at her Twitter, Deanna for Congress, and her website, deannaforcongress.org, you said?
DeannaForCongress.com.
.com. And then also you can visit me, ChristyForCongress.com, no number 4, Christy, FOR. And you can sign that petition, in which I will also be sending it to Deanna, and hopefully we'll be getting this movement along. It's time to get back to work. So thank you so much, Deanna, and stick around
thanks.
and open up the conversation a little bit later. I will pass it now on to Alice Butler Short.
Well, hi, everybody. I was a Trump person from before day one, from actually February 2015. And I started Virginia Women for Trump with about 22 women. And now we are thousands and thousands all across the Commonwealth. And we have 22 affiliated groups across the nation. So I hope that they're all watching. But I feel that the president was between a rock and a hard place. I am still 100% for him. And I think that I'm not speaking for him, but I think, knowing him, that he probably wants us to get up and go out now. The problem is that when we get the word, okay, you're free, we're not really free. Why? Because fear of contracting the disease, and like you said, fear of death. And if you think about communist countries, dictatorships, how do they rule? They rule out of fear. So we, as grassroots workers, have a really big responsibility to work with the people, with the citizens of our country, to try and take that fear away. And when I started my group, one of the objectives was to align our spirituality with our politics. So that's where I think we have to bring God into it, because with God, there is no fear. There is just love. So that's going to be a difficult one. The other thing is the economy is not just going to kick off and go crazy again. It's not. The economy is, we have a responsibility with regard to the economy. We have the responsibility to get out there and support the small businesses, to go to restaurants, to go to movie theaters, to go everywhere, and to be in as many crowded places as we can, and urge others to do that as well, to just let go of that fear, because our Constitution is precious and they're trying to tear down our Constitution. Right now, we do not have freedom. We do not have the liberty that we're supposed to have in America. And did I ever think, when I lived in 7 countries in the world, even in Africa, did I ever think that in America, I would see thousands of people lining up at food banks? No, this is ridiculous. I think perhaps for a couple of weeks at the beginning, but now it is time to end it. It is time to get out there and reclaim our lives and reclaim our liberty.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Alice. And so your group is Virginia Women for Trump, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And that's where you can get in contact with Alice and her organization. And then I'm going to keep reminding after every speaker, because we get new viewers every time there's a cycle. Don't forget to go to ChristyForCongress.com and sign the petition if you want to end the quarantine. That's what we're all working towards. And then I will also have a list available of all of the speakers here today and how you can get in contact with them as well. All right, we'll pass it on then to Lucretia Hughes.
Hello, my name is Lucretia Hughes. I am from Loganville, Georgia. I am a small business owner of Fallback Production Media Network. As being a small business owner, we took a hit. We took a hard hit from being what we was doing. So we turned lemons into lemonades. We decided, you know what, since everybody is living in fear and everybody want a mask, we decided to make the mask. If these liberal states are going to continue to make you do it, then make them hate you doing it, because this is what we're doing. We making a Trump mask, we making MAGA mask. If you want to feel safe, we got you on that one. But that is what it is, being a capitalist society, that we are allowed to do this. Now, a lot of us, especially with our own networks and talk about media every day, we've been ringing the alarm since last year that there was something coming from China. Now, we saw it at the State of the Union with President Trump when he was giving kudos to the American system and the American citizens. We saw Nancy Pelosi actually tear up the State of the Union speech. He was talking about coronavirus back then also. Not only, you have the news media saying that he wasn't doing enough, well, actually, he's been on the forefront from the day one, even during the impeachment. Now, when everybody is talking about what rights do we have those rights, and it's called the Constitution of the United States. It's called the Bill of Rights. But most people don't even know what this is because they have not been taught. This is not a living, breathing document. This is what our founding father gave us that sets us apart from every other nation in the world, is the Constitution of the United States. What gives us this freedom? This right here gives us this freedom. They are telling you the truth when they're saying they have an heat signal drones out there to make sure that you are doing social distancing. I'm sorry, we are human beings, and we actually come together with touch, feel, and taste, and that is why we have them. I believe in God, I believe in my country, I believe in my family, and I also support Donald J. Trump. It is time for us as American citizens, no matter if you live on the West Coast, the East Coast, in Texas, or in Washington, D.C., to come together back as a nation to get our rights back. What you saw and what we just went through is called a soft run. And if you do not know what I'm talking about, that is snatching your freedoms one by one. But you don't have to listen to me. You don't have to even listen to anybody on here. You can go back and look at sound clips from all the Democrat politicians that are out there that's saying that we need to repeal and replace this old parchment. So I'm going to need my citizens out there in America to figure out, do you want to be in a communist society? Do you want to be in a socialist society? Or you want to continue living in the United States of America, the greatest country in the land? And if you don't know what you're fighting for and you don't know what your why is, because I refuse to go into a bread line. So I'm going to continue when they open up, because Georgia is already open, but I'm going to continue getting out there, and I'm going to continue fighting for God, family, country, and support my president and get him back in the office for November 2020. And I'm Lucretia Hughes.
Amen to that. Nicely, Lucretia. And yes, I think we all massively support our president, President Trump, and we are all supporting President Trump in his work towards trying to get America back on track and after a sense of normalcy again. But I am calling on everybody who is watching to pray for President Trump and to pray for an enduring constitution. Because as Lucretia said, it's not an old piece of parchment, it's an enduring constitution. And we have to remember that. All right, I'll pass it then on to Mark Scaringi.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Mark Scaringi from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and I've been working with a couple of groups, Pennsylvanians Against Excessive Quarantines and Reopen Pennsylvania. We held a big rally on the steps of our state capitol in Harrisburg last Monday, and Reopen PA is having a rally in Blair County at the Blair County Courthouse in central Pennsylvania on May 1st. So Christopher, you'll have to come out and join us. But my primary efforts, in addition to attending and speaking at these rallies, has been on the litigation side. And we have Danny DeVito here as well. He's the state representative candidate from Allegheny County in Pittsburgh, and he is the lead petitioner in our case, Friends of Danny DeVito versus Governor Tom Wolf of Pennsylvania and Secretary of Health Rachel Levine. We filed a petition in the Pennsylvania Supreme Court asking that court to strike down Governor Wolf's business closure order that he issued on March 19th. as beyond his statutory authority and as violative of several provisions of the Pennsylvania and United States constitutions. And we litigated for about 2 weeks. Regrettably, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court came back with a decision denying our claims. The majority opinion denied the claims, and there's somewhat of a half-decent concurring and dissenting opinion that where 3 justices, including our Chief Justice, they expressed their strong concern about the arbitrariness and the capriciousness of the business closure orders, the way they were processed and handled by our governor. So we're going to be taking that concurring and dissenting opinion and filing an application in the United States Supreme Court on Monday morning. It's a petition for writ of certiorari, where we'll be asking the United States Supreme Court to intervene, get involved, and review the executive order issued by our governor and strike it down as unconstitutional. We also have an application, a motion, if you will, that will be directed to Justice Samuel Alito, who's in charge of our circuit, asking him for an emergency stay or an injunction on the enforcement of that order. We'll be filing that Monday morning as well. So that's has been the focus of my efforts here. It's been litigating in court, trying to find a court that is willing to intervene and stop this governor from what he's doing. If you look at the portrait behind me, that's George Washington. I was just noticing that and thinking about George Washington. We don't often quote him. We always quote Alexander Hamilton or Thomas Jefferson or James Madison. But Washington once said, "Government is not reason, it's power." And that's really what we have seen in these business closure orders and these stay-at-home orders. It is the raw exercise of power at its most ultimate, at its most extreme. These business closure orders and stay-at-home orders are unprecedented in the history of our country. And Danny DeVito and I have been litigating this for a couple of weeks. The governor of Pennsylvania has not been able to find one case providing one historical example in which any governor in the United States of America shut down every business in his commonwealth or state, or issued a comprehensive statewide stay-at-home order or a shelter-in-place order. This has never happened before. It is so far beyond the pale of what the law truly allows that it should be greatly disturbing, and it really should send chills down the spine of every American what these governors are getting away with in most cases. There have been a few federal district courts that have had the courage to strike down some very limited actions of these governors. We saw that happen in Kentucky, where the federal district court actually stopped the governor of Kentucky from prohibiting drive-in worshiping at the local church. You could drive to McDonald's and go through the drive-through and pick up a Big Mac, but you couldn't drive to your local church, sit in your car, and listen to a church service. Well, finally, a federal court struck down that order as violative of the constitutional rights, the First Amendment rights of those individuals. So we are fighting back. We're litigating every day. And we're doing everything we can to try to get now the United States Supreme Court to step in here and to roll back these executive orders that are really a prime example of tyranny. Our founding fathers, and Lucretia held up the Constitution, and our founding fathers used that word tyranny a lot. And to a modern ear, I don't think a lot of us really understand what that means, but we've seen now 50 examples of it. It's where governors far exceed their statutory and constitutional authority or any branch of government and deprive the American people of their fundamental constitutional rights, the right to private property, freedom, liberty, the right to due process of law, the right not to have your property taken from you. We are banned as small business owners from even stepping foot in the principal place of our businesses. If we do so, we could be criminally prosecuted. That is just about the most outrageous violation of our constitutional rights that I can think of. So we're going to continue to litigate, continue to fight the fight to reopen Pennsylvania and to reopen America and put the American people back to work.
God bless your work, Mark. Thank you so much for all the work you've done. And you too, Danny, you'll be speaking later. But fantastic work, gentlemen. I'm very proud
Thank you.
to call you guys my colleagues and to see the work that you've done to support our country, support our Constitution, and to always work in the best interests of freedom and bravery. I think that's a very, very great thing to promote in a time like this where more than ever we need to be a collective unit fighting towards one goal, and that is the health and prosperity of our nation. All right, I'll pass it on to Christopher Smith-Meyer.
Hi, my name's Dr. Chris Smith-Meyer. Don't worry, I'm not a medical doctor, so I'm not going to sit here and talk to you about virus membranes and injecting with UV light and stuff like that. I am a columnist and a pundit for New Right Network out of Washington, D.C. We're a national news network, and we're also now online streaming to your TV. If you'd like to watch us, go to nrnplus.com, and we can talk about this all day because this is a very important issue. And as a reporter, I've got a lot of people that are sending me questions asking, what should I do? Which is weird that we're asking reporters questions. We should be talking to our doctors. We should be talking to our local representatives. Remember, they're not leaders, they're representatives. And talking and finding what's best for our communities, because these orders from on high, and there's 4 of us from Pennsylvania here, so we know we're getting a different thing depending on the whim of the king of Harrisburg. And we really need to be looking at what we should do. And one of the biggest things I get, since I'm also a lawyer, is, do I have to wear a mask when I go into somebody's business? And the question is, can the government order you to wear a mask?
Get that salmon ready to cook.
But the other question that you really want to look at is, should you be wearing a mask, and can private property owners ask you to wear a mask or ask you to leave? The answer to both of those is yes. So should your governor be telling you to wear a mask? Hell no. But should you, as a responsible adult, knowing that that mask isn't to protect you, it's to protect other people, should you be doing it? Yeah, it's called being a good citizen. And while we want to get back to work, and one of the things that I really want to thank Christy for is bringing us together online, bringing people across the country together, not putting us in a really tight areas, because a lot of these people are like showing pictures of people standing in small groups, which they shouldn't be doing. But whenever we have a rally like what Mark's setting up in front of the Hollidaysburg courthouse, which is a huge building, and they can spread out the whole way across the little park that's in the area, we're not all violating social distance. We're all working together for adults. And one of the things that really scares me is, and I'm a big movie buff about reviews and stuff, and one of my favorite movies is V for Vendetta. And if you watch that movie, you're seeing a lot of things transpire that happen in that movie. And since we're trying to keep this relatively short, I'm not going to go over all of them. But the one scene that really gets to me during this time is there's a scene where a little girl wearing a Guy Fawkes mask, you know, this one, wears it, and she's spray painting a wall. Now, she's violating the law. She's doing wrong, but she's representing her free speech. And a police officer shoots her because of the heightened tension. And we're going into an area of heightened tension right now. And this is a very scary time, because should have the little girl in the movie died? No. Should have the police officer shot her, or was he completely in the wrong when he did? No. But the scary part is that people are going to be called upon to make these choices if people keep getting crazy. And the biggest thing you can do is make sure that your protests and your rallies are organized by people that understand what they're doing And they're not just a thing where you get out and shout and you smash things and you knock over garbage bags. That's what Antifa does. That's what the other team does. That's what the people that endorse chaos, not a republic, do. And when that happens, that's when those police officers who are defending us have to make the choice of which person they're defending. That's whenever each of us make the choice of whether their actions were right. And every choice can be a mistake. And whenever we force those choices on other people, it's dangerous. So I thank Christy and I thank Mark for bringing us together in these types of events, because these are organized. These are showing our representatives that we are responsible, that we are following the rules, and that if people at Walmart, Home Depot, and grocery stores can be working in areas where they're touching our food and touching our future clothes, then people that want to cut your hair, that want to serve you a drink at a bar, that want to sell you something that is keeping their business and their family alive have just as much right to go to work as they do. So please go look at Christie's petition. Also, if you're tired of the socialist world you're living in, check out my book, A Red, White, and Blue Deal, Part 2, because the original one was the Constitution. And it talks about what this Green New Deal is doing to us, because if you read the Green New Deal, this is exactly what they want. They want power from on high. They want people being told what to do, not choosing what to do. And they want to take your freedoms one at a time, just like the other speakers have said. So thank you very much. Check us out at New Right Network. And thank you again, Christy, for bringing us together.
Pleasure. Thank you so much, Christopher. And so, yes, that is New Right Network. Christopher's book. You can always contact him after I send out that list. But also, I just wanted to say it was very interesting that Christopher brought up V for Vendetta, because if anyone hasn't seen that movie, V for Vendetta, it starts with a disease that it's beginning, it was unclear. They weren't sure how it got established, but a disease gets spread through the masses of England. And then a government entity ends up expanding towards a dictatorship because the fear of the disease and the disease spread created a movement for the people to allow government overreach. So that's what this rally is about. That's what this forum is about, because we are trying to ensure that personal liberties should always be maintained, no matter what threat we face, because if we maintain our personal liberties, then the threat is actually going to be lessened, because then we're not fighting from different angles of trying to maintain our rights and then also trying to fight a virus or an attack or whatever it may be. So as Christopher mentioned, if you're just logging in, the petition is at christyforcongress.com, and the links will be provided below after this live. But I will now pass it on to Danny DeVito.
Christy, first of all, thank you for hosting this. You're doing a great job down there in Southwest Florida, which is one of my favorite places to vacation. So, thank you for this, and thank you for bringing everyone together. As Attorney Scaringi said, we are the lead petitioner in a lawsuit against Governor Wolf, my campaign. I'm running for state representative here outside of Pittsburgh. I live in a town called Carnegie. And in Pennsylvania, political campaigns were considered non-essential. So Governor Wolf shut us down. So just like everybody else, we were taken by surprise because his announcement happened after business hours. So everybody was scrambling, trying to figure out what to do, how to let their employees know. So once all of that, first of all, the rollout was extremely incompetent. He had different color codes. Nobody knew what was going on. So we attacked him on that. But then kind of once the dust settled, we took a closer look and we realized he does not have the statutory authority to do this, and he does not have the constitutional authority to do this. So when Attorney Scaringi announced his lawsuit, I got in touch with him and joined some other plaintiffs and became the lead petitioner to challenge Governor Wolf's order in court. And Attorney Scaringi kind of covered a lot of those bases. So I'm going to talk about the motivation. We had a great rally in Pittsburgh the same day that they had one in Harrisburg. And we had hundreds of people lining both streets on both sides of the courthouse demanding their freedom. And to me, that's what America is all about. These were small business owners from all walks of life, all different types of businesses that came together because they knew in their gut that the Constitution was being violated here. and they knew that they had to stand up for their rights. And to me, it was beautiful because we had people, you know, jewelry store owners, barbers, cosmetologists, attorneys, businessmen of all kinds, club owners coming together because they knew their rights were being violated. And that's my motivation. So I hope to continue as I'm running for office, you know, in my campaign, to stand with those business owners, to continue to fight government overreach. But my goal is also to make sure that this energy continues after. You know, we allowed the government to take such a large portion of our rights away with this. The precedent for the future is terrible. We have to make sure this never happens again. And that means fighting to roll back other unconstitutional powers that the government's claimed over time. That's what we're going to do. And again, Thomas Jefferson, Attorney Scaringi said we often quote him, but he has a good quote. He said, when the government fears the people, there is liberty. But when people fear the government, there is tyranny. And that's what we're seeing now, creeping socialist/communist tyranny. And our campaign is going to stand against that. We don't care about the pushback we get from the left or from the establishment Republicans. We're going to continue going full force, as many of you are doing. So again, Christy, thank you so much for bringing everybody here together. Again, Danny DeVito from just outside of Pittsburgh, and I'm running for state representative. And thank you everybody else for coming too.
Thank you so much, Danny. I appreciate it. And on a funny note to Mark and Danny, as Mark pointed out, everyone likes to quote Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson, but you have a fellow George Washington fan. You might see my friends here. President George Washington, we have Martha Washington and Betsy Ross, and they're always my friends here. So shout out to them. I'm going to now pass it on to Franz Michel.
Good evening, everybody. Christy, thank you for bringing us together on this forum. My name is Franz Michel. I spent 32 years with the Army National Guard and Army Reserve. I'm a combat veteran. Also retired as a investigator with the New York State Police. I am now a second-year student at Ave Maria School of Law. One of the things that concerned me along with this lockdown is the attempt to use this the virus as an excuse to further try to erode our Second Amendment rights. So I've served and trained all over the world. One of the common denominators for dictatorships is that the first thing they do is disarm the people. It's difficult for people to revolt against a tyrannical government if the government is armed with superior weapons and all the people have are sticks, rocks, maybe edged weapons. So we also have to watch, while one hand is restricting our freedoms to move about, our freedoms to do business, the other hand is trying to take away our Second Amendment rights, which is scary to me. And I've been in combat for this country. I love this country. I've done everything I can to serve this country. And I do not want to see this country go down the road to socialism. And myself and my fellow veterans will not stand by idly and let this country go down that road. So I fully support that the choice. People should have a choice if they want to open up their businesses, if they want to frequent the businesses. I think one of the things, you have a group of elites in this country that think they know better than the average person, that they're smarter than they look down upon everybody else who's not in their social circle. So what they do is they don't trust us to know how to protect ourselves. I know how to protect myself. I know how to protect my children. All the people I know how to protect themselves. So give us the choice. Do not give us rules and regulations from above telling us what we can and what we cannot do. That's basically all I have to say.
Thank you so much, Franz. And on that note, who here is a fan of Marvel superheroes? Raise your hand. Yeah, all right. So Captain America, Marvel's favorite Republican, once said, "We may not be perfect, but the safest hands are our own." So I think that perfectly sums up what Franz was trying to say, which is, you know, as the individual, we know how to protect ourselves, and that is why we have our personal liberties. And an overreaching government actually just gets in the way of us knowing what to do for our own health, our own safety, our own happiness. So I'm going to now pass it on to Manny Alejandro. Tell us how it's going in New York right now, Manny.
Hi, Christy. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate you all putting this together. I think it's an extremely important topic. I kind of want to come at it from a bit of a different approach because of where I am. Things in New York are pretty bad in terms of the numbers of people that actually have it. A lot of people died. It's really a situation where we've had a lot of vulnerabilities in our society that have been exposed through the coronavirus, unfortunately. So what I want to focus on and what I want everybody to focus on is how we reopen. I mean, look, we need to focus on why did we close down in such a disorderly fashion? It was hurriedly done, and there's a tremendous amount of arbitrariness in terms of the stay-at-home orders, the quarantine, what's an essential business and what's not from state to state. Okay, so I'm an attorney in New York. I get it loud and clear. I'm a conservative. But at the end of the day, I want us to reopen. And my overarching concern, I live in a financial district, is that if we open in a way that's as disruptive as we closed, we will have potentially another closure, which could lead us to a Great Depression. I have an MBA from MIT Sloan, so in addition to being an attorney, I have a long experience, track record. I worked on Wall Street for 30 years. This city is very restless right now, and people want to go back to work quickly. Okay, the New York Stock Exchange has a floor. People trade on a floor. They have a hybrid system. They trade electronically and they trade with floor brokers. That floor is closed because people tested positive, unfortunately, for the coronavirus. So the New York Stock Exchange is a huge symbol of our freedoms and of our capitalist market and of patriotism. The New York Stock Exchange is trading electronically. It's open, but the floor is closed. We need to reopen that. We need to reopen our economy. We have a huge tourism business in New York. We have a huge service-oriented economy in New York. My biggest concern is the fear that has run rampant through this country with people feeling, I've been around people who have the coronavirus. Do I have it? Do I don't? Do I have the antibodies? There's a tremendous amount of confusion. So I think we all need to help clarify that confusion, okay? Firstly. Secondly, I think we all need to work within our communities to make sure that things open up in an orderly process, meaning that people feel comfortable to go back to work. Now, not to throw a legal argument, but we will see, I know we have a couple of attorneys on this as well, we will see, in my opinion, a rash of litigation from employees that were potentially exposed to the coronavirus by their employers if they were forced to go back and to work quickly. I'm not quite sure what that means. I'm not sure how that will be defined, but the workplace environment could be unsafe and dangerous if testing wasn't done, if employees weren't checked out, right? So what I'm saying is, although I think the way things were closed down was completely disruptive, arbitrary, horribly done throughout the country, where our religious services in New York were closed down for Easter, Passover, and Ramadan, but yet liquor stores are deemed essential. Hey, I like to have a drink as much as everybody else, but is a liquor store essential, but a house of worship not, agnostic to what the religion is? That's totally off base. We had a snitch line created by our mayor, Bill de Blasio. I don't know if you heard about this, kind of funny story. He created a snitch line where if you saw people not social distancing, you could take a picture of them and text it to this snitch hotline. Well, New Yorkers gave him what we call the Bronx cheer. There were a lot of horrible pictures and people gave him the middle finger and stuff and texted it to this line. And it was overwhelming. There was an article in the New York Post about it. So the New Yorkers stood up and said, we're not going to snitch on each other, okay? We're not going to get to that level where we need to live in this environment where we're afraid of each other. Nonetheless, I wear a mask. We need to wear a mask in New York. It's the law. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm saying in an effort of public policy, and Dr. Smithmeyer said this, I don't want to get anybody else sick, nor do I want to get anybody else worried about being around me. So one, I'm worried about my health, but I'm also worried about potentially getting someone else sick. My mother is 82. I think I had corona. I went to CPAC. I came back. I was sick. I was denied testing twice. I went to the doctors. They refused to test me. So I had to quarantine myself for 2 weeks. I'm a lawyer. I have an MBA. I don't have a medical degree. I don't want to be a doctor. That's the one degree I don't want. But in abundance of caution, I took myself out of society. I haven't seen my children. I haven't seen my mom because I'm worried about getting an 82-year-old woman who's in frail health sick. That's kind of nuts that it's upon me to make that decision. Nonetheless, I think we need, using me as an example, I think we need to come back in an orderly process. What does that mean? We need to work with the federal government, the state government, and the local governments that we don't come back in a disorderly way where it's unsafe. Because what I'm worried that'll happen is things open up. And if someone tests positive, that will automatically shut that place down. And if it's a retail place, if it's a service job, we are in a lot of trouble. So I agree. Things were done problematically. We need to make sure that doesn't happen again. So we need to fight for our rights. We need to fight for our rights under the Constitution and Bill of Rights. Absolutely. But what I want us to do is be prudent. I want us to be practical, and I want to have a targeted approach, meaning that, yes, things could open up in Georgia, but I can tell you right now, things can't open up in New York tomorrow. As much as I want them to, they can't. And the governor instituted a stay-at-home order until May 15th. I'm not sure if we need to go that far out, but we need to make sure that people in New York are safe. And I'm not sure they are. I don't want to get into statistics. I'm not a doctor again at cause of death. I don't think that's a winning argument or a winnable argument. What I want us to do is be prudent and practical, okay, and not have any further disruption. Because we talk about a V shape coming out of the V-shaped economy. So we're up, we went down, now we're going back up. We could have a W. We could go up, we could go down, we could go up and down. That would be the most disruptive thing, have 20% unemployment and lead to rash chaos in society, depression, suicides, domestic violence, massive crime, 25% unemployment. I don't want to see that happen. So in an abundance of caution, we need to be prudent, practical. We need to work with the authorities, put pressure on the authorities to open things up in a very orderly, structured way, unlike we close things down. That's why we're having this discussion, because things will close down in just a very randomized way from state to state, which makes no sense to me because we're all continuous states, and I could go from New York to New Jersey or Connecticut. So if the law is different in one state around states that are close by to each other, kind of doesn't make sense. So this all needs to be done in an orderly fashion. It hasn't been, it needs to. And I'm at MannyAlejandro.com for my website, and my Twitter is Manny_Alejandro. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Manny, for your thoughts on that. I really appreciate it. Actually, though, because you did mention a little bit earlier about the antibodies and the statistics, I know you didn't want to mention the statistics, but I think it's important that something just came up actually recently, a University of Miami study, and that University of Miami had determined that likely in Miami-Dade, approximately 165,000 people have the antibodies of the COVID-19 virus. Therefore, they've already contracted the disease and were asymptomatic, because that's a huge discrepancy between the actual number and what was initially reported through testing. But that said, I think it's important to recognize then that we've had so many more people who were affected by the virus, but were asymptomatic, and then the death rate is actually much smaller than what is being reported. So I think that's very important to note. Thank you so much, Manny. I appreciate it. We have Keith Flaw up next, the Florida Citizens Alliance.
Good evening, Christy, and thank you for inviting me. And a special thank you to all of you for each of what you do. I'm one of the founders of the Florida Citizens Alliance. We're a grassroots organization here in Florida, a coalition with over 100,000 or 100 different groups we work with, and 60,000 parents, grandparents, and faith-based community. We focus heavily on school choice, getting rid of the indoctrination in our schools, and we played a major role in Florida, if you haven't heard, getting rid of Common Core as a set of standards. The best way I can demonstrate to you, I think, the importance of education, and I think many of you probably will identify with this, a study that Dennis Prager did right after the 2016 election. If you're not familiar with it, his team took how 18 to 25-year-olds actually voted in each of the states. And if you use their votes only to determine the Electoral College, the outcome would have been 504 blue to 23 red. That's the importance of the indoctrination that's taking place in our kids' lives. And I argue that if we don't fix that, it's just a manifestation of what we're seeing today. I'm shocked by what we're seeing in terms of all of us, many of us, giving up our rights voluntarily and so quickly. Many of you probably heard about the interview that Tucker Carlson did with the governor of New Jersey when he responded to a challenge on the Bill of Rights, and he said the Bill of Rights.
Keith.
Yeah.
Keith, I'm sorry, your microphone's going in and out. Can you just speak up a little bit?
Okay, I'm trying. Did I lose you?
Yeah, now you're back. You're good.
Okay. Well, so I think what we need to do is stop and think about what are the lessons that each of us are teaching our children as we go forward. And we need to open up. We need to stop operating out of fear. What's going on today is just unacceptable. And when you look at this in the context and put it in perspective, while it's terrible and none of us condone the loss of life, the implications of this on destroying the greatest economy in the world are just unfathomable. I ask you to take a look at our website, goflca.com. That's goflca.com. And I'll leave you with a simple quote from Vladimir Lenin. Give me your children for 4 years, and the seeds I've sown will never be uprooted. Will never be uprooted. So thank you all for what you do, and I'm happy to have joined you. Thanks, Christy.
Thank you so much, Keith. I appreciate it. All right, now we're passing it on to Aaron Corcoran.
All right. Well, thank you, Christy, for this. And how cool is it to have patriots all over the country all coming together. And, you know, I'm filled with faith, not filled with fear. I'm a pastor's son. I help hundreds of pastors in South Carolina, thousands of people in South Carolina, we the people. And actually in 40 days, we now have nearly 12,000 voters who've come together all across the Palmetto State to stand for their freedom and to say, you know what, we believe in the Constitution. We believe in what the founding fathers, and we're talking about Washington. I love that picture behind you, Mark. You know, that's what he stood for. That's how they came from Great Britain. And, you know, Alice, you and I can talk about that as well back in history. But here's the thing, when it comes right down to it, when you've got nuts and bolts being put down under cars in parking lots of churches, I've got a problem. When you've got churchgoers who want to come and have an essential service, which is hearing from the Word of God and being filled with hope during a time of fear, I've got a problem with that. And the fact is that we've got an attorney general in South Carolina who heard the pastors, who heard the anger, who heard what was happening and said, we've got to take a stand for religious freedom, religious liberty. This country was based on it. If you go back to the founding fathers, it wasn't about humanitarianism. It was about the Word of God, about having that freedom of worship, the freedom to believe as God has called you to. And so we have seen victories in South Carolina that I would hope maybe in other states would happen. I would urge people on here, contact your attorney general, make sure that you are telling them what's happening in churches around you. You know, not only with churches, but with businesses. I'm an entrepreneur. And you know what I hear nobody talking about is if we took care of our own body a little bit more, maybe we wouldn't be so scared of every kind of virus going around. You know, if you look at what's happening, immune systems are depressed, and they're generally the people who are getting the worst of it. But you know, maybe if we ate a little bit better, maybe if we had a little better hygiene, maybe if we worked on ourselves a bit more and taught that to other people, we would be on the offense, not the defense, with any kind of virus or influenza or whatever you want to call it. So my heartfelt cry to everyone on here and people watching is, don't be filled with fear, be filled with prayer. Pray for wisdom for our governors. Pray for wisdom for the attorney general. Pray for President Trump. Can you imagine the pressures under every single day and people saying, no matter what he does, he's doing the worst thing possible. You know, he's an idiot if he does one thing, and he's called an evil man if he does something else. And so I choose to pray for him. I choose to pray for Governor McMaster of South Carolina, our mayors, our state representatives, our attorney general. And that's the biggest thing I bring to this table, is that I am filled with prayer. And this country was based on that.
God bless you, Eric. Thank you so much. And Eric, did you want to mention your business?
Oh, yes. You can follow me on Instagram, Freedom with Eric. And then if you want to look at what we're doing politically, it's called South Carolina SC We the People. We're about to actually upload our website, and we've got a very strong social media presence as well.
Thank you so much, Eric. God bless. All right, we are now passing it on to Josh Ellis.
Hello, and thank you, Christy. So I am Josh Ellis. I'm with the American Revolution 2.0, and we are doing a national march protest on every state capital in the US, all 50 states, at essentially the same time, to stand up as a nation, because that's the real issue here. We're talking about constitutional rights, United States citizens' rights. Every single person is a citizen of their state and under state law as well. But what is happening is we have states and state governors issuing orders that are violating our rights as US citizens. So we need to send a message as a nation together that this is not okay and this can never happen again. We've watched over decades, centuries here, our rights in little parts all over just continually get violated and taken away, little chip by little chip. And now here we are with this giant move to remove several amendments rights in the Bill of Rights all at once. And it's a huge precedent, and it's amazing to me the justification of this, because history, if we go back to history, we want to talk about the Constitution and the Founding Fathers and the first American Revolution. There was a smallpox outbreak in the middle of the Revolutionary War. These guys lost, it was estimated 10 times the amount of people to disease that they lost in war. So you think when it came to writing the United States Constitution, they just forgot about that? No, they didn't put a clause in there for a reason. They knew that it was up to Americans to be responsible and educate themselves on how to protect themselves. Americans are the best people to be able to protect your own health, your own safety. The government is not built for that. Look at, as Manny said, how badly they did this. They're not meant for this. And that's the one thing I would say is this needs to be removed. End of story, just done. And let the American people figure out how to protect themselves. We've all been told about masks, about washing our face. I think we understand how to do this now. Anybody who wasn't washing their hands, this is a giant wake-up call that you probably should have been. But that's the end of the story. This is the American people's right and responsibility to take care of their own health. And it is not the right of government to violate our constitutional rights, because what they're saying is that you're too stupid to do it. That is the message that they are sending. And my favorite thing is when they call somebody who believes in the Constitution right wing. Well, what you're saying is that if you're on the left, you don't believe in the Constitution. I think that's disgusting. And I think if people on the left understood that that's what was understood, they wouldn't be on the left. Because the Constitution is the binding document that joins all American citizens together, and it is something to be held very dearly. So yeah, that's basically my spiel and what we're fighting for. You can go to AmericanRevolution2.org, get information about your particular state capital. We have 52 events across all 50 states going on. We've been doing this for over 2 weeks now, organizing and building it up. We have a lot of other groups that are coming together to join with us on this. I'm hoping for 20 to 30 million Americans on that day standing together.
Wow, thank you so much, Josh. And as you know, I appreciate you joining us today, and I would like to work with you and continue to work towards the movement of, getting back to work. I think that's the final message that we all are trying to send here, is that we also just want to be able to go back to work. As American citizens, we are a brave nation. We are a moral nation, but we're also a working nation. We have a tremendous work ethic. And so Josh is doing an amazing job in promoting that movement. And so now we have Luke. Luke, are you ready?
Born ready. How are you doing today, Christy?
I'm good. How are you?
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Luke Edison Negron. Through my time with the United States Air Force, I've been trusted to protect American lives, to take lethal action against enemy lives. And now the citizenry of PA 18, which is Pittsburgh and the South Hills, Western Pennsylvania, has trusted me to be the only Republican candidacy for the 2020 election cycle. So we're excited to be here. My team and I have worked really hard. We've got negron2020.com. You can check out all of my social media link there. And really our movement is one, to reject Washington insiders, to reject elitism, and to bring back citizen leaders. You know, the US House used to be called the People's House. Now it has really become the career politician house. We want to change that. One of the big policy issues we need to push forward, which will solve a lot of those problems in elitism, is term limits. And that really plays into a lot of these local monarchs that we see, whether they're representatives, governors, mayors, passing policy and really executing power grabs against their citizenry with the excuse of defending them from the big bad boogeyman, right? Which in this case is the coronavirus. Now, as Dr. Smithmeyer said, we do need to understand people have died from the coronavirus. We need to first resist the ability of the enemy to paint us as coronavirus deniers or something crazy like that. We know that this is dangerous. We know this is something that has happened, but as representatives, our job in leadership is to defend your freedom, not to give you your freedom. Your freedom is not something that the American government gives to you. It's not something that any other person or that any government ever gives to you. It's something that we can defend. It's something that God gives to you. That's what our founders believe. That's what I believe. So we want to reject the elitism and the local oversteps that we see statewide across Pennsylvania and then across the nation as well. And I've got some notes here that really I want to dive into two things. One is Alice hit on the idea that we really need to combat the fear that is going to stop us. Even once the economy gets the green light to be reopened, it's gonna be a battle of narratives. It's gonna be a media battle because there's a lot of fear here. And if we report on every death that has happened due to the coronavirus, it's going to terrify people. Just like Christy said, we don't report on every heinous death that we see from motor vehicles. And if we did, people would be terrified from driving. So we need to contextualize this and put our message out there in a wise and accurate manner. But then I think it's time that we, as a right wing, as a conservative movement, we own the fact that the silver lining that the left sees here is that this is a way to cripple and attack President Trump. It's a way to cripple and attack the Republican Party, but specifically President Trump. So what did we see them do during his presidency? First, we saw them try to get him to fail militarily. When was this? This is when President Trump brokered a peace between North and South Korea. They did their best to demonize him in the media and to make him fail militarily. He succeeded there, and the leader of South Korea actually said it could not have happened without President Trump. Then they tried to get him to fail economically. And of course, they couldn't get him there because now the economy has been booming under President Trump. It only crashed recently due to this medical crisis. They tried to get him to fail legally with their sham impeachment. Again, they failed. So then what did they do? They did one of the most heinous things. That's they leveraged a medical crisis for political purposes against President Trump. That's what we see a lot of today. So we need to own the facts, own that people need to be protected, own that any social gatherings that can be avoided should be avoided. We should be wise here. But we also need to call out the people who are politicizing a medical crisis for their purposes. I think it's terrible. I think it's something that we need to reject as a united front here. So that's really where I stand on this. I think that Pennsylvania is a state and a commonwealth that is ready to embrace personal liberties and our right to choose when we want to open our businesses, to choose when we want to go outside and walk in the park or go jogging or paddleboard or drive in our own motor vehicle without the risk of getting arrested. So the beauty of an American citizenry who is able to have freedom is that we can choose these things. And if you want to stay inside in quarantine, again, that is certainly your right to do. So we need to be careful how we talk about these topics. We need to defend freedoms and recognize where those freedoms come from. And it's not from the government.
Absolutely. Luke, I think you pointed out some brilliant points of our freedoms don't come from the government. They are inherent. They are endowed by God, and that's something that we are all born with. It's the natural law. And that said, also, I don't think that any single one of us takes the fact that people have died from this virus lightly. We are very respectful to the fact that, yes, unfortunately, people have died, and they are in our thoughts and prayers. But that said, we also know of the comorbidity of a broken economy, of poverty, of social distancing. And we have to keep in mind, as Manny was pointing out, that if an economy just shuts down and our social norms are so thoroughly disrupted, then it's causing so much more harm than the virus ever could. And Deanna pointed out brilliantly, who stands to gain if we continue on this path? Who stands to gain with this broken economy and the attacks on President Trump as he's trying desperately to fight off every attack on every angle, including an attack from this virus? So thank you so much, Luke. And then does Theory want to say anything from the Right Network, or can we pass it on to Tyler? Give it a second. All right, I think we could pass it on to Tyler then. Tyler is our last speaker, and then we'll close it off with everybody reminding them who they are and where we can contact them on social media. So this is Tyler Izaguirre.
Well, thanks for hosting me. As Christy said, my name is Tyler Izaguirre. I'm the president of the Second Amendment Institute. We are a national pro-gun rights educational advocacy organization. And what we do is we preserve, protect, and defend the Second Amendment and the Constitution through our educational advocacy work. In regards specifically to the coronavirus epidemic and what's plaguing our nation right now, the message, the renowned message that we've been sending out to our members and to our followers is that, this is a glimpse of what can happen if, something terrible actually hits the fan. People start buying up all the goods, people start looting, breaking into houses. And that's why you've seen in March, for example, 3.7 million background checks were conducted for firearm purchases, which is a record number. And it just goes to show why, having a gun now more than ever is extremely important, because not only can you defend yourself that way, but you can also defend your family and loved ones. So this kind of gives us an idea of what would happen if something bad really hit the fan. And these stay-at-home orders, while they're bad and they're draining our economy, killing our economy, and I don't agree with them in any way, shape, or form. But if a real virus, not a real, but a dangerous virus were to hit our country and actually kill off, let's say 10 million people, and the government actually forced us into our homes, locked us into our homes like they're doing in China, and forcing people to starve, that's when it comes down to, do I have a gun and can I defend myself? And that's why if you don't have a gun, I'm telling everyone to go out and buy one, stock up on your ammo, stock up on your goods, because when shit hits the fan, you better be ready. And I know the gentleman from the Air Force who was speaking earlier, I'm sure he's been trained in preparedness and would full-heartedly agree with me on this issue. And that's why at SAI, Second Amendment Institute, we have been telling our members and followers, just make sure that you're safe, get prepared, and to fight for, the economy to go back into full force and to reopen the states. While people are dying, yes, the numbers are very, very low, less than what the fake news propaganda wing of the Communist News Network, or CNN for short, have been telling the Americans. And I'm actually putting together a website right now disproving what they're putting out there, their lies, and just exposing the left's agenda. So what it comes down to is essentially, call your governors, host protests outside of their personal homes. I've, gone out, I've lived in DC for 4 years, and I've gone to Maxine Waters' house plenty of times and, banged pots and pans and gave her hell and had the cops called a few times too. It's always fun. So if you ever want to do some real on the, streets work, just hit me up. But that's where we're at, host rallies to get your states reopened. Maintain your 6 feet or 21 feet, whatever the hell they're saying now these days. It's all a bunch of just BS, in my opinion. Just do what you got to do, grab your guns, and be prepared for the worst.
Great, thank you, Tyler. I appreciate that. All right, so now that we have heard from everybody, I'm pushing my computer back so I can show the whole screen. There we go. Okay, so first of all, thank you all so much. God bless you all. Every single person here is amazing, and they are so inspiring that everyone here has been working so hard for their country. And every viewer out there, we are American, we are proud, we are brave, We will get through this. This is a pandemic that has been unprecedented, but when has the American spirit ever faltered to any kind of fear? Ever. We are stronger than any pandemic. We are stronger than any virus. So visit ChristyForCongress.com for the petition. Everyone turn on your microphones. I'm going to list you off really quickly. Say your name and where they can find you on social media one last time. We'll start with Deanna.
Hey everyone, Deanna Lorraine for Congress. Go to Twitter, Deanna with the number 4 Congress. That's the number 4, Deanna for Congress. Facebook, Deanna for Congress, and my website, deannaforcongress.com. Thank you so much. And we're going to get through this to America, everyone. We're going to fight and make sure that we do not have our liberties infringed. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Deanna. All right, Alice. Oh, Alice, your mic is off. Bottom left corner. There we go.
Okay. Alice Butler Short, founder and president of Virginia Women for Trump. You can find us on Virginia Women for Trump. It's a public Facebook page. And let me just finish with one thing, a quote from Ronald Reagan. Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same. And we're not one generation away now. This is it. It's here. We have to fight now for our liberty. And God bless you all. Our hearts do go out for those who have died. I know people who've had relatives, and it's heartbreaking, but we cannot let our country go now.
Amen to that. Thank you, Alice. And Lucretia Hughes.
My name is Lucretia Hughes. You can find me twice a day on The Real News with Lucretia Hughes. For everyone that's going to be in Georgia on the 17th and the 18th, I'm having a rally right here at my house to celebrate what it means to be an American citizen, and that is God, family, country, and Donald Trump. So I hope to see y'all there. And if you want to find me, you can find me on Facebook or any social media platform. My name is Lucretia Hughes.
Thank you, Lucretia. Mark Scaringi.
Yes, and Christy, outstanding job. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You did a terrific job. You're a great leader. Good luck in your congressional race. And thank you to all of the attendees. I learned a lot today. You can reach me at my email, Mark, M-A-R-C, at scaringilaw.com. That's SCARINGILAW.com. Twitter is at Mark Scaringi. Facebook, those are the 3 I use the most. And to the Pennsylvanians on the list, let's get together after this meeting and continue to collaborate. Danny and I have been working together very closely, but the others, we should work together to continue to push through litigation, legislation, and rallies and public awareness to reopen Pennsylvania and reopen America. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mark. All right, and now Christopher Smithmeyer.
Hi, as I said, I'm Chris Smithmeyer. I'm a columnist for NRN. I'm really hard to find online. Just kidding. You can find me on Facebook and on Twitter. If you just go to my NRN profile, it'll help. And I also do want to plug a little bit. We are having a Global Hope Conference where we're working with people around the world to open the world back up in about 4 weeks. If anybody wants to be involved with that, hit it up, because this kind of patriotism, there's people in every country that feel this way. And Christy's bringing us together here. We're going to bring the world together and say, we will not kneel. We are going to stand, and we're going to stand united.
Awesome. Thank you, Christopher. Danny DeVito.
Yeah, thanks for coming online, everybody. You can find me at Danny DeVito PA on all social media platforms. Join our movement. We're trying to reopen Pennsylvania's small businesses. Multinational corporations that make their goods in China are still operating in Pennsylvania, but Pittsburgh small businesses are shut down by the government. That's not right. We're going to put a stop to it. So follow us, Danny DeVito PA, across all social media, and you can friend me on Facebook. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Danny. Franz Michel.
Franz Michel, you can find me on Facebook and Twitter.
Awesome. And Franz is spelled F-R-A-N-T-Z, right?
That's correct.
There you go. All right. Thank you, Franz. Manny Alejandro.
Thank you. Thanks, Chrissy. Thanks for putting this together. This was wonderful. Great job. Thanks to all the participants. I'm at MannyAlejandro.com is my website. Manny Alejandro is my Facebook, and Manny_Alejandro is my Twitter. I just want to end with, look, we know we get a bum rap in the media, and we can't play into that. So I really want us to move forward and keep the fight going. But I do want us to maintain levels of compassion and sympathy to the people who are sick and, and freaking out because they don't know what's going on or what's going to happen, and to those who pass. So let's maintain compassion and keep the fight going. We'll get through this. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Manny. Keith Flaw.
Thank you, Christy, for putting this on. Go flca.com. Just one thought. We're experiencing the failure of 2 generations of education, and people are so willing to give up their rights. We need to, that doesn't continue to happen with our kids.
Thank you, Keith. All right, Eric Corcoran.
Well, thank you, Christy, for this. I don't know about the viewers out there, but hasn't this been an amazing hour, however long this has been?
Yeah, we're on like 4 different social media sites, so we're like hundreds of people, but it's all over the place. So we'll find out later.
And the vision here is so magnificent, and it's so broad, and that's what's so exciting. I mean, if you're in any part of this great country called the United States, you have to be encouraged by the stuff that's been said here. You can follow me in 3 different ways. I'm working with Faith Wins. If you look at faithwins.us, we're trying to get as many people registered to vote all over the country. There's still going to be an election, folks. That's still happening come November. We've got to get Christians registered to vote, ready to go. Secondly, Freedom with Eric, and that's kind of what I'm working with nutrition as a business owner. And thirdly, if you live in South Carolina, don't forget about South Carolina, We the People, fastest growing movement in South Carolina.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Eric. Josh Ellis.
All right, I'm with American Revolution 2.0. You can find us, the easiest way is on the website, AmericanRevolution2.org. Pretty much every social media platform out there is censoring in one way or another. So we keep updated links on the website. So that's honestly the best way. I do want to read real quick a quote from JFK. Those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable. So that's what this protest is about. It's about us taking back our voice and speaking up. And if they continue to stop this, it's only going to lead to violence, and that is nothing. That's something that nobody here wants. Also, anybody on this, I'm more than happy to collaborate. I want to make this thing the biggest May 1st deal ever. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Josh. Luke Negron.
Yeah, I'll make it easy on everybody. Negron2020.com, NEGRON2020.com. All social media is linked there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Luke. And Tyler Isagari.
I'm going to hold up my card here so you can screenshot that if you want, since I have a
Oh,
complicated
there you go.
last
Here, let's do a super close up there with the phone. Awesome. Thank you.
And all my social media, Facebook public figure page, Instagram and Twitter are all at Real Tyler YZ. Keep it nice and simple for everyone. And if you ever have any gun or Second Amendment questions, please reach out to me on Facebook. Happy to answer them. And Christy, thanks for hosting this and having me on.
Thank you guys so much. And remember, this is on Facebook Live. It's going on Twitter. It's on YouTube Live. It's on a variety of websites. I know it was shared on Lucretia's page, and Alice shared it on her page. So you know where to contact me, obviously, at ChristyForCongress.com. That's where the petition is up. Please sign that petition if you support ending quarantine in your state. Have that sent to President Trump to also show our support for our president and our prayers going towards our president. So thank you all so much. I'm zooming out a little bit so everyone can give a wave. Awesome. The phone was recording for Facebook Live. That's why. Bit awkward. And thank you all so much. We'll see you later.